Hey family, we are live, broadcasting live. This is the Conversation Room 101. Make sure it's only adults in the house. I need your mind to be open, prepared, and relaxed. Welcome to our home. Take your shoes off. We got some rules we need to go over. Be kind. No cursing in the chat. If you want to curse, call in. And no shouting out other channels. That's a no-no. We got one other rule. There is no judging our guests. It will not be permitted. Zero tolerance. And if so, you want to do that, guess what? We got security. And we will escort you out. Because over here, hashtag we don't care. We're going to be one big family. We're going to laugh together sometimes. We're going to cry. But we definitely going to pray. I thank the Lord above for everything. I lift him up and give him the glory. But you guys, right now, we're going to get our popcorn. And then we're going to see what's going on. And let me just park my car. And I'll be in there in a minute. I see you real soon.
The Copyright Disclaimer Act. The Copyright Disclaimer Act under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news, reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Like, share, subscribe.
Do you want to know? Well, I've been thinking about you, and I think I have to listen, because the sun is up, it's a beautiful day. My beginning will be as bright as the sun. Come, won't you come along? And it feels so bright, it's like luck is raining on me. Go and follow your heart, doesn't matter how far. There is so much love to give, something's telling me this time. Baby, baby, now baby, baby, gotta go. There is so much love to give, something's telling me it's right.
Neighbors and the
When you
community
came to me,
compelled
who
to
are
scour
you?
the area.
It's you, yeah, boy.
Where does the fault lie on you?
Hey family, how's everybody doing in the building? First of all, you guys, let's come on in the live. You guys know something. First of all, let's see, today is May the 21st, 2025. You guys, 5 years ago, I was in Texas this day, bringing back goodies. 5 years ago. 5 years ago. Golly. And it's crazy. It's crazy. It's just crazy. But anyway, yeah, I was in Texas this day. And we were coming back. And we were bringing all kind of goodies and everything. But anyway, you guys, we're going to talk about Kelli Bryant. And she's looking at life in prison. She, quoting what she said with the police. She said, I sacrificed my kids. You guys, we talk about these parents all the time, these mothers. And so I wanted to come on early, get this out the way. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Miss Dee Dee was first in the building. Lisa Taylor came in second. Zena third. And then we got Sonia Watts, number 4. Sanja is in the building. Tina Powers, number 5, up in here. And then we got C6 Banks. These are our main people. Jazzy in the building. Jazzy done came up in here. Hey, Jazzy, how you doing? How are you doing? Brandy is in the building. Brandy said, hey, everybody, I'm here. Connie Branch is in the building. She said, good afternoon, everybody. It is mid-noon, you guys. It is mid-noon. Yeah, she sacrificed her kids. I don't think she sacrificed them for the money exactly. She knew nobody. We're gonna talk a little bit, you guys, because when we shared the court case, we didn't share all of it at that time. I don't have a video for you, but I also do have some conversation that went on. I will read it as we go. First, I was going to pull it up on the computer, and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do, we're going to read the hearing. I'm going to read the hearing to you guys because, we're always going to, if you don't read, then you lose what you don't use, okay? Jazzy says, I'm good, SP. You're doing an awesome job. Thank you. So I'm trying to come on pretty much every day. Some days I just be like, man, I don't know. It's so much that goes through, what we could talk about and what's going on. And I wonder, does it make a difference? I believe it does make a difference in as far as women growing and sharing whether it's good or bad, it's always good. You guys, so let's take a look at who we're talking about here. This woman, and I don't know who said it. Let me go back and said it. She says, today is my company anniversary, 23 years. Well, happy anniversary to your company, Jazzy. I hope you've been there 23 years or some of that. So you can get that paper, girl. Get that paper. Miss Dee said, happy Wednesday, everybody. Okay. We're making sure we come in the chat. We're speaking to everybody. Make sure you speak to the people that come in the chat later on. Make sure you like the video. If you didn't like the video, go out. Click the thumbs up, you guys, so everybody else can come in here too. Because that's how they get notification, because somebody said that they like the video, so they'll share the video. So if we got 16 people in here, it should be 16 thumbs up. It should be. I don't know how many thumbs up we got. Matter of fact, let me go look. I'm starting to learn who does what. Oh, my phone's not on. Dang. Let me cut it on. Because, people was like, I shared. And lately, I've been seeing not even us as a family sharing, but people that comes in here randomly, they're sharing because they know what to do. And we sitting there like, I can't. I really, I just, sometimes it just gets to me where, it's just like, we're trying to do good in the communities, not only here in Kansas or whatever, but all over the United States, all over the world, making sure the awareness is out there that these things are happening. They're not hoax. Some people talk about, oh, I think that's a hoax because these are real people. These are real kids missing. This is real situation. Now, we may have some stuff mixed up as false in the sauce, but trust and believe these people are coming up missing and being left and things of that nature. No Tax on Tip Act, she says. I have been here since 2021. In 2002, she said, I have been here since May 21, 2002. All right. And you know what? I was tripping because 2002, I don't know if we was on that long, Jazzy. Or are you just talking about YouTube? Oh, she said she been at her job since 2002. Girl, you been there the whole time then. If you've been there since 2002, you've been there the whole 23 years. Shoot, get that money. Okay, so We all greeted everybody and everything. So let me get off into this conversation that ended this young lady. Her name is Kelli Bryant. You guys need to take a look at her. You know, you need to look at her. That's Kelli Bryant right there. That's what she's headed. She's gonna do some time, you guys, for child abuse. They are giving her the book. They're gonna throw her underneath the jail. They're not gonna play with her. They're not gonna play with her at all. So we heard from one of the witnesses, but let's go over it a little bit. It's in the Oakland County. So the Oakland County mom accused of abandoning her kids and forcing them to live alone in filthy conditions for years is now headed to trial. Kelli Bryant, 34, she's 34 years of age, of Pontiac, is facing 3 counts of first-degree child abuse after authorities found her 3 children. The ages is 15-year-old boy and a 13 and a 12-year-old girl living alone. She also faces welfare fraud charges. Now, even without the welfare fraud charges, just on the child abuse alone, you guys, they're saying facing 3 counts of first-degree child abuse. She's looking at life. Okay, Bryant appeared for her preliminary examination on May the 16th, where a judge ruled that there was enough evidence presented by the prosecutors for her to go to jury. Okay. Now, you guys know when they have the preliminary, because we've seen preliminaries before, that this young lady is going to trial now. And so Brian will be going to trial for the charges of child abuse and welfare fraud. 4 witnesses testified in the preliminary hearing, including the responding deputies and the detectives on the case who interviewed Bryant. Now, you know, now this is the preliminary case, so they haven't got everything together yet, but they know that she left the kids. She know that, I mean, they did not have to go out and get any mom testimonies, dad testimony, boyfriend, husbands, cousins, nephews, nieces, neighbors. They didn't have to get anybody else. Just by taking those kids out of that environment, that situation alone, they found the mom. Well, what you guys did not know, and I'm going to tell you something before I start going to read it. She came to the station. This woman walked in on her own recognizance. She came to the station, you guys. Oh, they didn't go pick her up. They didn't go pick her up or anything. They called her. Okay? They called her up. And how did they call her? They actually got the kid's phone, and, you know, it says the greatest mom in the world, and called her and say, "Hey, Kelli," or, "Hey, greatest mom in the world, we have your kids here, and we need you to come down to the station." And she took an Uber or a Lyft. I think it was a Lyft, you guys. Let me not get Uber on there, but a Lyft. A Lyft and an Uber is pretty much the same, but they're different name, okay? So she went and got a Lyft and took her to the police department, and that's where they read her Miranda rights and arrested her. They did not go looking for her. They did not go and pick her up. You know, some people was like, who was she living with? Well, they don't know, because she picked a Lyft and went down there. Now, I know we all wondering, who was she living with? And how did they not know? And all this other stuff. But before we get off into that, you guys, let me show you something about this young lady. Let me show you something, okay? This is Kelli Bryant, and you see how beautiful she is? She got her gold on. She got her lace front wig on, and it is sharp. And I told everybody when they came out with her picture when she was arrested, which was this. I said, you guys, I said, this young lady right here is wearing a very expensive wig. One thing I do know, I know my hair, right? This ain't no 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 wig she got on. This woman got a lace front wig with human hair. I said, this is $300 to $700 wig. You guys, this ain't something that you just gonna buy, over Amazon. That ain't it. So she was living some kind of life, but you see, she's not that bad looking. Let's see when she was just a little bit younger. You see how pretty she is? She's a pretty girl, right? Pretty girl. Same kind of look on her face. Look right here. She's just beautiful. And she knows she's beautiful. She's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But let me show you something else that I just came across. I just wanted to point out real quick. So this is a picture right here. Now, I don't know what's going on between this young lady's legs. I don't know if that's dirt or hair or whatever, but it's black. It's probably her period, and she ain't cleaned up in there. I mean, it's doing something. But, I mean, some people may think it's the shadow because of that's how it is. But I blew this thing up and I said, no, that's not shadow. That's not shadow. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just, she said it's nasty. She said that's a nasty. But I'm going to tell you guys something. The way that she was dressed in here, tells me that she was making some kind of money. And not only that, let's continue looking at what she's going to look at for the rest of her life. That she's going to look confused. She said, what? Yeah, she's going to look confused. She is pretty. She looking crazy right now. She looking crazy, y'all. But trust and believe, this girl is not crazy. Now she might have some mental capacity of reality going on, but she definitely not crazy. But she's going to act crazy. Now, I'm going to read to you guys the things that you did not hear. So therefore, let's get off into it. So Brian will be going to trial for the charges of child abuse and welfare fraud. 4 witnesses testified in a preliminary hearing, including the responding deputies and the detectives on the case who interviewed Brian. Now, we already heard the first one, but let's go over it real quick because it ain't nothing but about a minute. So the Oakland County Sheriff Deputy Quincy Curtis, that was the first one, and that's the one that we heard. He said as he was called to the Pontiac home on February for a welfare check, deputies had been called for a welfare check for the day before, but didn't get inside the home. And so they had came the day prior, this is before Valentine's Day, but didn't get inside the home. And when he arrived the following day, the landlord was there with the locksmith. So the landlord came the next day with the locksmith. The landlord told Curtis that he hadn't seen or heard from the tenants in a while and hadn't received payment from her for some time. When Curtis walked into the home through the garage, he saw a large mold stain on the ceiling along with feces and trash everywhere. After that, he entered the home and said there was also piles of trash, feces, and cobwebs throughout the inside of the home as well. He recalled the foul odor and said he thought it'll be checking the apartment for a deceased body due to the smell. So they said it smelled so bad that he thought there was a deceased body in the house. So Curtis said he encountered a locked door, and when he turned to check the other door, he could hear crying coming from that first locked door. So he went back to it. We all heard that. He said he told the children they were safe and they needed to come out so he could check on them. As he did this, the oldest child came out of one of the closed bedroom doors. The boy had extremely long toenails and had a hard time walking straight, according to the deputy. After the brother had asked them to the other 2 children to open the door. When they came out, they were really hunched over, standing close to each other, holding hands, and wouldn't look up, according to Curtis. They were very frightened, he said, recalling when he tried to talk to the children. Curtis said the children had a hard time figuring out how to spell their names when asked and had to talk amongst themselves to figure it out. So all the children was trying to figure out how to spell their name. So the Child Protective Services was contacted, okay? Curtis said, I didn't think it was a suitable place for anyone to be living. Okay, we already knew that. The 3 children were taken to the hospital and were given hygiene supplies, including toothbrush, toothpaste, and shower products. He said the children were confused about how to brush their teeth and didn't understand how to flush the toilet. After they brushed their teeth, there was allegedly blood in the sink. Okay, sometimes, I brush my teeth every day, but sometimes, like if you don't brush your teeth, you're gonna have blood. You're gonna have blood to come out because those are sensitive places of tissue in your mouth, or muscles and ligaments and all that other stuff. Curtis said he didn't recall seeing any hygiene products when they searched the home. That's what he said in the preliminary. The detective said the kids waited until all 3 of them were together to eat, and even when they wouldn't eat unless everyone else stepped out of the room. So the kids would not, they asked the kids what they wanted. Remember, they asked the kids what they wanted. The kids wanted Caesar pizza. And so when they got Caesar pizza, the kids would not eat until all the adults stepped out of the room. And so Bryant's attorney, this young lady that we're looking at right here, her name is Kelli Bryant. Her attorney implied that the children could have been scared because they probably aren't familiar with strangers, especially an officer being in their home. Okay, we knew that's where they were going. Okay, so now the defense attorney, also argued that the blood in the sink may not have been a result of the children brushing their teeth, because Curtis didn't watch the children brush their teeth. He's saying it could have been anything or whatever. But I mean, you're still shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, if it was a nose, the kids was covered in feces and trash and dirt and smut. Okay, so anyway, here we go with the new testimony. I want you guys to get this in your brain. Let me go ahead and make sure. Thank you to Sonia Watts for putting that up in the chat. She said, I didn't catch her age or the kid's age. Kelly's age is 34. The oldest boy is 15. And then she has 2 girls, one 13 and one 12. Okay. So now the pediatrician, he actually was on the stand also. So the pediatrician named Dr. Smith. So anytime I say Dr. Smith, you guys know that's the pediatrician. She performed a basic examination of the children at the outpatient clinic following their stay at the hospital. She claims she didn't know very much information about the children prior to the appointment, and that CPS was the ones who set up the appointment. She recalled the children arriving at the clinic accompanied by their grandfather, a social worker, and a deputy from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. So that's probably who has the kids, is the grandfather and the grandmother. But the grandfather went with them, okay? So the kid's grandfather is with them when they're at the pediatrician. She examined the 3 children individually while being verbal with what she was doing throughout the examination. So you know how that is, to make anybody a calm environment, a situation. You just don't go in there lifting up hair and arms and stuff. You say, let me look underneath your arm so I can see how your arm, and see if they have range of motion, see if they feeling any pain or anxiety or anything. And people say, how do you feel anxiety? Oh, you can see it on their face. So Also told the children to let her know if they were uncomfortable with what she is doing or was there any pain. Okay? So all three children denied being examined. All three children denied being examined in their private area. So the kids did not want her to look in their private area. So they knew that that's something that was sacred. Thank God for that. I mean, even though if it's a doctor, I'm kind of glad. So she said she was able to examine the children everywhere else, head to toe. So even though that she took all three children to examine them individually, all three of them would not let her examine them in their private area. And they denied paying. She said the oldest child has brown spots inside his mouth, possibly lesions. Lesions. Okay. She described the middle. Okay, so that's the oldest child. She described the middle child as a little more high spirit. Dr. Smith said the child stuttered somewhat, the middle child, but was able to communicate with her. The middle child told the doctor she was confused as to why this was happening. According to Dr. Smith, the middle child had a hard time standing up and her skin was darkened. Dr. Smith testified that all three had difficulty seeing and they were squinting. A screening chart was used and she determined they had nearsightedness. She then asked about their routine before they removed from the home. So she asked the three children, what was you guys' routine before the police arrived and took you out of the home? What was your routine? What did you do every day? What did you do from the time you got up to the time you went to bed? And the pediatrician testified that the children's routine was wake up, use their phone or tablet, sleep, and eat food when it was provided to them. She said it was unclear when they went to bed and their routine seemed disorganized. The children told the doctor they were not allowed to go outside at all. Dr. Smith was concerned for the youngest child, claiming she may be developmentally delayed and immature for her age. She also said she was hunched over and had a very hard time standing up straight. The youngest child was also not able to get on the examination table by herself. Being 12 and 13, wow, that says a lot. You got to remember, Naziah was taken from her family at the age of 12 and 13. And here this child can't even get up on the table by herself, being the age of 12, 13. The pediatrician said the most striking feature about the youngest child was that she was unable to hold her head up straight and was weak in general. Okay. So Dr. Smith said that the children had extremely low levels of vitamin D and recommended that they attend a physical rehabilitation. Could be scoliosis. Yeah. The defense attorney, it could be just she's weak also, just really weak. But I mean, the defense attorney argued that the general population in Michigan would have a vitamin D deficiency. Therefore, it could be a normal thing for children to have that. Well, true, but still, I mean, they're probably there's probably like their water and, and all of that, no milk, no sunlight, where you get your vitamin D from? Your sun. You need that. I told you guys, you need that. Vitamin D, you need sunlight. The children were not underweight, they say. The defense attorney stated, and the doctor agreed. The defense attorney said that, and that's kind of weird, that the children was not underweight. The defense attorney said the doctor doesn't know the youngest child and can't determine if her mannerisms are immature for her age. She said all three had a good dental examination, but then said she was not a dentist. The defense argued that the doctor isn't a licensed psychiatrist or a psychologist to make a judgment on their mental well-being. The investigators for the prosecutor office, Bryant Martin, testified. Okay, so the prosecutor office, this is their testimony. So the prosecutor office, Brian Martin, testified he extracted phone data. Okay, we're going to get in a little of that. Not too much of it, but it's enough that, you guys will get a good picture of what was going on with these kids in their mind. So Bryant Martin testified he extracted phone data from the children and Bryant's phones for investigation purposes. He said the children had their mom in their phone contact labeled as the world's greatest mom or similar in verbiage. The world's greatest mom. So Brian had her children contact information in her phone labeled as my oldest, kid 1, and kid 2. Like, you remember on the something in the chocolate factory, they had thing 1 and thing 2. That's what this reminded me of. The mom is that she didn't say this is my kid. We don't even know the kids' names. She didn't even put the kid's name in. She was like my oldest and kid 1 and kid 2. He said he saw text messages exchanged mostly between Bryant and the oldest child regarding food delivery. For example, she sent a text message to the oldest on November the 30th, 2024, saying, "There, Harry, and let me know you got it." The oldest child would also message Bryant what food they were requesting. She would order it for delivery, and the oldest would retrieve the food from the porch. Oh, the cat in the hat? Okay, Shauna, cat in the hat. I thought it was on the chocolate factory was thing 1 and thing 2. You're right, it was the cat in the hat. Martin read out one text Bryant sent. So when this go to trial, this is going to be something about their conversation. I would like to know all full conversation what she had with these kids, because all of it could be, it's all going to be damaging, and they're going to have to use it all. And it's probably going to take 1 or 2 days to go over it and dissect it, because I think she was, corresponding to the kids, you guys. I'm just telling y'all. I think she was. And I'm just glad she was giving them food. Martin read out one text Brian sent to the children in court. And it said, "I don't feel comfortable with you opening the door without me knowing." He testified that the children would continuously ask for things from their mother. He said she would sometimes delay delivery on things they asked for. Okay. Martin said, based on the oldest child's phone data, the oldest child met a girl. Hold on. The oldest child met a girl online, you guys, and talked to her about exchanging presents for Christmas. So the oldest gave the girl his address, and he let Bryant know. He let mom, the greatest mom, know, "I met this girl on Facebook. I met this girl on whatever. I don't know what it was, but he met this girl, and they talked about exchanging gifts." I wonder who that girl is. Anyway, and if they're going to contact that girl and see what she say. Anyway, on December the 17th, that's all they said about that, you guys. I'm not skipping nothing. On December the 17th, she messaged the oldest child and said, "You should have asked first." Oh, Martin said, based on the oldest child's phone data, the oldest child met a girl online and talked to her about exchanging presents for Christmas. So the oldest gave the girl his address and he let Bryant know. So on December the 17th, 2024, she messaged the oldest child, "You should have asked first. I would have gave you an address, but not that one." So she wasn't stopping them from talking to other people or whatever. She wanted to, I guess she wanted to keep control, but not let nobody know where they lived. Who taught the girl about things like their menstrual? Who taught the girls things about their menstrual? I don't know. Martin brought up the text message exchange between Bryant and her oldest child on February the 14th, 2025. The day the children were found by police. So the person that is testifying brought up what the text messages said the day that the kids were found. At 7:30 p.m., the oldest child messaged Kelli Bryant saying police were there and they were scared. She responded, telling them to hide and be quiet. The defense attorney argued that the mom could have been upset about giving away their address because he gave it to someone he had never physically met. The defense then claimed the mom was very active in communicating with the children via text and phone calls. So the detective on the case, named John Brush, testified that he was part of the child abuse investigation. So John Brush, he said he was monitoring radio calls when he heard about the children claiming they hadn't seen their mom in years doing the welfare check via radio traffic. So he responded to the Pontiac home. He testified he saw the two younger children having difficulty walking and seeing in the light. He said the children were covered in feces. He also said they appeared overwhelmed and overstimulated. Police was advised to wear hazmat suits. Brish testified that he never smelt a home like the Pontiac home where there wasn't a decomposed body. So he kept asking the deputies if there was any more children inside the home. He said it is not typical for someone to wear a hazmat suit in a home to investigate due to the condition of an apartment. He was able to contact Bryant over the phone. Y'all listen, this is where it gets to the meat and the potatoes. He was able to contact Bryant over the phone the day the children was removed. He told her he was concerned about the health of her children. He said she agreed to meet with him at the Pontiac substation. Kelli Bryant told Brish she was on the north side of Pontiac and took a lift to get to the station. He took her to a recorded room to question her with another detective and read her Miranda rights to her. He said her demeanor was questionable at times. Brish testified that Kelli Bryant's appearance was the most surprising. He explained that Kelli Bryant arrived at the station wearing clean clothes, her hair was done, and she was wearing long fake nails. He said it was unusual based on how the authorities found the children. According to Brish, Bryant admitted her actions were selfish. She said she sacrificed her children for herself. I hurt my children. He recalled Bryant saying, "I sacrificed my children, probably." He said he was surprised by how confident her admission was. She described to Bryant one occasion when she met the oldest child in the garage to drop off food. She would then wait in the car until he got inside. Brish testified that she also went to the apartment once to check the smoke alarm since it was going off. She then pulled out the batteries in the smoke detector. She confirmed she told her children to hide when police went to the home. She also told detectives she didn't want anyone to know her children were living there alone. "Is there anything I can do to help myself?" Brish recalled Bryant asking when he noted the severity of the investigation. Brish said she asked for advice to help herself. She initially claimed in the interview that she didn't have a support system. She later responded and admitted she had communicated with the children's father and said they were unwilling to help her. She said she was going through something mentally and told the father of the children to take care of them. Bryant reportedly is, now this is what you guys need to know. Bryant reportedly is a victim of assault, leading to her having mental health issues. So they're saying Bryant is reportedly, so they're knowing that she is reportedly a victim of an assault, probably a abused woman, battered and abused woman. Okay, so, you can give her a little bit of sympathy, not a lot, but a little bit of sympathy, and she reportedly made cover stories for different people she knew. The grandfather believed the children was living with their father. Brish said that anywhere she lived throughout the city was within walking distance of the children. She apparently lived in multiple places within the city. She reportedly admitted to Brish it was common to talk to the oldest child, but not with the two youngest. She made it clear that it may have been years before seeing the two younger children. Brish testified he never interviewed the children himself, but he attended the forensics interview with them. He testified they can talk and answer the questions they are asked. So what prosecutors said before the ruling? But before the judge made the ruling to bind Bryant over for trial, prosecutors made statements regarding the welfare of the children. You guys know it's just like a real trial, but it's just a preliminary. They have to have closing arguments. So the prosecutor said Bryant made deliberate steps to shield her children from people who could have helped. Prosecutors also said she prioritized hiding her children over their safety based on her telling detective that she had broken a smoke detector so it wouldn't attract attention. The children stopped going to school and were living in filth. The children couldn't reach out to family because they didn't know their numbers, according to prosecutors. One of the children claimed she never used soap in her hair because she didn't have any and believed it caused cancer. God, one of the children claimed, so one of the girls claimed she didn't use soap in her hair because she didn't have any hair. So the kids, oh my goodness, I can just see what these kids look like. The defense argued the children weren't mentally or physically harmed, making it not child abuse as defined by the statute. The judge called this an extraordinary case, extraordinary circumstances. She said, I just can't. Okay. Well, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, okay, so the judge, let me finish because this is it, you guys. The judge then ruled that Bryant will be bound over for trial on the child abuse and welfare fraud charges. A trial date has not been yet scheduled. Hey, Milky Way girl, how you doing? Hey, Zena. Either the mom put that name in their phone or the son was being sarcastic. I think the mom put the name on the phone. I just do. And it seemed like the oldest child was very smart and intelligent because he was communicating with this girl and he knew his address and he's being 15 and like 15. I mean, I tell you guys, a mom's power with children in the love, the bond that a mom has, the bond that the child has to the mom is very hard to break. I mean, I look at grown people, grown men that love their mom so much. Their mom could be in the wrong, you guys. They gonna stand 10 toes down because that's mom. And my mom could be in the wrong. I'm not going to be wrong with her. I could still love her, but I'm not going to be in the wrong with her. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know why. Okay, so the child that's 15, when she left, the child was 10. They did not go to school, Zena. They did not go to school. And you got to remember the child that is 10, he probably went to school for the first, 5 years of his life. I mean, not 5 years, first 5 years of his life, but 5 years of in his life, he went to school from the age 5 to the age 10. He probably was in school and then she pulled him out. But okay, let's just talk a little bit because we got a little bit of time. We're only going to stay here for an hour and we've got like 13 minutes. I want to ask you guys. So they said it's reportedly that this woman was maybe a domestic violence, but she is reportedly a victim of abuse. And I know you guys here when people come in the chat and they say they be in tears, they be crying about how their family let them down or their mama didn't believe them and the cousin did this and the daddy was doing that and the brother did this and they can't get over it. And I will say, for those of you that know, that, when you are a victim, you may not remember the details, but the trauma stays with you. Now, what I mean by that is you never forget what happened as far as it happened and the pain that you felt as far as what family member did what. Like, say, for instance, this young lady. I don't know if her last boyfriend did something, her mother, her father did something. We don't know. But for some unknown reason, and the weird thing about this, I think Zan and I was talking about this. And because we talked about cases on the outside of, the channel sometimes, but it wasn't no times lately, but in the past we talked about this case. And you got to do the math. And she left these kids when COVID happened. You guys see that? She left these kids when COVID happened about 4 or 5 years ago. So when COVID happened, a lot of people lost their minds. You know what I'm saying? And we're seeing the aftermath of kids that did not return to school, and the school system didn't come looking for none of these kids, because she had a child that was 10, and then the other child would have been 7 and 8 or 7 and 6. Either way, all of them should have been in school. You know what I'm saying? 5 years ago, all of them should have been in school. So for them not to return to school and nobody asked, it could have been very easily, if they lived there in that house the time that she left or went to school there in that neighborhood. They lived in a condo, you guys. This wasn't just no raggedy, ran down house. They were living in a condo. So I'm just in a nice neighborhood. They didn't say if they had running water, Zena. They didn't say if they had running water or not. They did say they had heat. So I'm thinking they had heat. If they did have running water, you got to remember the toilet was not working. The toilet wasn't working, but they said that they had heat. I heard in the press conference they had heat. Or if they didn't have heat, they would have had, some deceased kids, because the weather there at that particular time was so cold. It was cold. What else? So I'm just not okay. So we send our kids to school because it is the law to send them to school or give them some kind of education so they won't run around here being animals. But then that's supposed to be like a good way to keep track of who got kids and who don't got kids. You guys, I'm going to tell you something that's so weird, but it's true. Like, if you ever look your name up into been verified or whatever, they know everything about you. They know who you've been married to. They may not say you were married to this person, but they're going to have that person's name on there. They're going to have your kids' names on there. Now, if you adopt a kid, they're not going to probably have that kid's name on there. But, every person that you've ever married, they're going to have that person's name on your, you are connected to, you are related to in some kind of shape, form, or fashion. They're not going to say, oh, okay, well, this is Zena. Well, Zena, you're kin to a person named Bobby, or you were married to Bobby, and Bobby, and you was also married to Tom. It's not gonna say that, but it's gonna have Bobby's information on there and Tom's information on there and every place you've ever lived at on there. Your address, your phone numbers. It's gonna be, you're gonna have to figure out some stuff. They're gonna have some wrong information, but a lot of it's gonna be correct information. You cannot deny that. So what I'm saying is, and I was going off a little bit, but what I'm saying is these kids did not show up for school after COVID. And the schools didn't reach out. I'm not for sure, but I believe they were still in the same house. And when that COVID hit, it messed up a lot of information. People quit going to school. People quit going to church. People quit going outside. People quit checking on people because nobody wanted to catch it and get it. And I just believe that woman, if she, the weirdest thing about the whole situation, you guys, is she paid rent, she paid the utilities, or she was on some kind of, she took care of the business part of making sure the electric stayed on. So, and like with some of the check, she paid rent up until October. Then she got greedy. She wouldn't pay no more rent. Do you not know? Think about it. This woman had 3 kids for 5 years, was not there in that home. And she could have survived without ever working a job. Without ever working a job. Rent was paid, the electric was paid, and she survived. I mean, the kids survived. That's crazy that on a welfare, you're getting food stamps and you're getting a check and it can pay your bills for 5 years. And I don't know if they have that there in that town, but after 5 years, they cut welfare moms off of welfare. And that's probably how she probably got cut off of welfare and couldn't pay the rent anymore. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying here in Kansas, a mother can only claim a child for 5 years and be on welfare. Now you can have another kid that don't give you an extra 5 years, but they add on to it. So for each child, you will get benefits for 5 years for that child. If you have a child and the child is 1, you got 5 years. You can have another child and the child is 2. Now you got one that's 2 and you got one that's 1. You only got 6 years because it only adds on another year on that 5 years. You get more money. So the first year, the first child, you'll probably get like $400 a child. So you have 2 kids, you get $800. But after the first child is 5 years of age, you now not get the $400 off of that child. You only get the $400 and 1 more year with the last child. So that's how they do it here in Kansas. So I don't know what they do in Pontiac. Let me see if they got a welfare. I don't know what it's called. Do anybody know what's it called? Hurry up, because we got to get off of here. Do Pontiac have a welfare system for people on welfare with children monetary benefits? Also known as welfare, TANF helps family pay for food, housing, and energy. Let me see. Find out how much money do you get on welfare children. It is estimated that SNAP pays on an average. SNAP is your food stamps is $243 to a single individual and $460 to each household. Okay, that was November 19, 2022. What other benefits are offered available to those who are receiving welfare assistance? Food, medical services, rent, subsidies are available to those who qualify. Taxpayer fund these programs from these recipients often receive bi-weekly or monthly payments in the form of vouchers or direct payments. So they were probably being paid. The landlord was probably being paid by a voucher directly to him. You know what I'm saying? And so when they probably cut her benefits because she didn't do something, she didn't show up, or she didn't file some paperwork or whatever. Yeah, TANF. That's what it's called, TANF. Who pays for people on welfare? You guys know, the state agency. Do people on welfare get a check? Some also issue benefits with a paper check. They give you a card now. How long does the average American stay on welfare? Because of these different patterns of welfare usage, it is difficult to talk about an average welfare recipient. My research showed that on average woman, whoever used welfare will receive assistance for about 6 years, and current recipients will receive assistance for about 13 years. That's crazy. Here, like I said, it's 5 years. Who receives the most welfare? In the U.S., a significant portion of supplement nutrition assistance programs, that's called SNAP, Supplement Nutrition Assistance Program, benefits go to individuals and family with children, elderly people, or those with disabilities. About 86% of SNAP benefits are distributed to households with one or more of these individuals. Additionally, a large majority, 92% of SNAP benefits go to households with income at or below the federal poverty line. What are the 3 biggest programs that assist low-income people? The NANF is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. That's what TANF stands for, you guys. I don't know this stuff because I've never been on welfare before. I actually applied for food stamps one time because I walked in and I had got laid off, and you guys, I didn't, hey, I was getting child support, but I was only getting like $125 a month on one kid and maybe $75 on the other kid whenever he paid or whatever. But you know what they told me? They was like, ma'am, you make too much money. I said, the food stamps? They said yes. I said, Lord, I just can't understand how somebody can live off of $400 because I was only getting like $400 a month on child support. But they was like, yeah, you can. And I literally begged these people, and I said, I need some food. I'm telling y'all, I wouldn't make this up because, I said, I need some food. And they gave me, and this is what I'm telling some of you guys out there, that if you don't know, I'm just telling you, they told me that I can't get anything or nothing. But I stood my ground and said, because I really did need help. And I did have $400 coming in. I said, please, could you just help me? If you give me some food stamps, I can at least take my money and pay my electric bill, my water bill. That's all I need to do is pay my electric bill, water bill, and put something on my house payment. They told me to sell my house. I said, oh, Lord, you guys are doing too much. You're doing too much. No, we can't do that. We still got to have some place to live. They told me to sell your house, and then you can go live on the north side of town where it's a lot cheaper, like 3 times as cheap. I said, but they're shooting over there every night, and the drug dealers and the people, the houses, the cash houses and stuff is all over there, and they're in every block. She said, ma'am, you don't need help. I said, yeah, I do. I'm thinking about my kids. I'm a single parent. I gotta find work. I gotta go to work. I can't. Come on now, help me out. They gave me emergency food stamps. Yes, they did. They gave me emergency food stamps. They gave me $500. That's why when people come to me talking about SP, I need some help, and I just need some food or whatever, I said, no, you don't. Because if you need help, you will go down there and you tell them people and you stay there, and they're going to have to kick you out. You need some food stamps to feed your kids. You don't have no food. They're going to give you some emergency food stamps. And let me tell you, they gave me the emergency food stamps. I took the $400 that I had and I bought shirts and shoes and I sold them. My kids went with me. We set up on corners. We sold shirts and shoes, or you name it. We doubled that money. Okay, we doubled the money. So now we got $800. I take the $400 and go reimburse it back into shirts and stuff and things like that. And at the same time, I looked for a job. You do what you have to do to take care of your kids. Anyway, you guys, if there's a will, there's always a way. You don't have to wait for somebody to hand you something. I'm not saying it's like that for everybody, that you can get out there and get it. But at the time, exactly, Sanjay. Sanjay. It's called survival. You will do whatever it takes. Some people be laughing and be talking about people because they get on a pole or whatever. Whatever. They go dancing. Whatever. Don't even come to me, because you know what? My kids are going to be eating. At the end of the day, my kids are going to be eating. They're going to be sitting in their house with a roof over their heads. They're going to take a bath. They're going to go to school, and they're going to learn. I'm not going to be subjected to, oh, I failed. I already know I messed up having kids out of wedlock without a mate, a partner, a husband. I already know that. But my kids still got to eat. I know I ran into relationships that were not good for me and my kids to stay into, just to go. That's why some women do stay in relationships, just to get, food on the table, or the electric. That one lady that called in, I'm gonna tell you guys, she's not here today, but she was telling you guys, and I'm gonna share this because I don't think that's why she comes on sometimes and talk about her situation. She stays in her situation because she's saying that she has nothing if she leaves this person that's abusing her. She has nothing. Like, she goes to these houses where they're supposed to help women, and they even treat her worse, telling her that maybe you faking and you better not be lying. Who got time to be sitting in somebody else's house or place, got not a dime, nickel, penny, and you sitting there talking crazy to me? Like, so the woman stays in her situation, get hit some more, get abused, get attacked, get taken advantage of, get SA'd, and she says, I got nowhere to go. Well, of course you got nowhere to go. You don't, probably. And so we got to be a little bit, have that, caring, to listen to people's, and not be so judgmental, because it is bad out there, you guys. It's bad. That's why I try to help my kids. Every time when my kids come to me and say, Mom, I need some help, my husband be like, don't be helping that boy. Don't be helping that girl. I'll be like, you know what? These are my kids. Shut up. Just shut up. Period. With a pop on it. Shut up. Exactly. These are mine. And they have what I have. If I have to get out of my own house and live in my car so that they can have a roof over their head, if we all can't stay here, then guess what? They can come live here. I'll go get in my car. And that's what I say. And I'm not being rude, disrespectful. Just shut up. These are my kids. And because, I feel like I brought them in this world, and they're not making it. I got to help them. Now, my kids are very self-efficient. They sometimes they need a little help. I help them. They get on their feet and they just take off running. And I'll be like, go, boy, go. Go, girl, go. I'm happy to see them. And they may think they did it all on their own. But, I don't care. I want them to succeed. That's why we have kids. To make sure they succeed in life. Not be like, oh, you going to get what you got coming to you. No. We want our kids to succeed. Not like some mothers. And life happens. It happens. It happens. That's the new thing. It happens. That's why women go back to the abuse. You guys are right. That's why they go back to the abuse, because The world sometimes treat them worse than the abuser does. I got a friend right now. I want to help her, but I want to help her in the right way. They say if you give a person a fishing pole, you give them a fish they eat for a day, but if you give them a fishing pole, they can eat for life. They don't have to come back to you saying, I need something to eat. They can go help themselves. So for me to help her, first of all, she's already taken responsibility of what she did wrong, which was not bad. She's not a bad woman at all, and I will help her. But and sometimes I just want to just give her some money so she can have bus fare and get her something to eat. But you do got to be careful about who you give your money to, because I don't give my money just to anybody. I'll know that she is in really a bad situation, and I'll help her. We teach them how to fish. Yeah, we teach them how to fish and say, son, child, don't do that again. Do not do that again. And they learn from that. See, now, if our parents would have treated us like that, we would have been farther in life. But we only have so many years ahead of us where we were messing up as we went. We were messing up as we went. If my mother would have been there, like my mother was there a little bit, like I didn't have a washer and dryer one time, and I boo-hooed and I cried to her about how my baby daddy, my daughter's father, would just leave me at the laundromat. People I didn't know in a, way across town. I knew nothing, and he was running around doing whatever he wanted to do. I was young. I was only about 14, 15 years of age. And next thing I know, shoot, she bought a washer and dryer and put it on my porch. And I didn't even know she bought it. I was like, y'all, come on. I was like, we stole something. Like, let's bring this in the house. I didn't have the kids at the time because I wasn't with him with kids, But I eventually did have kids with him. I was just telling him, I don't know who washer and dryer this is, but let's bring it in the house. Let's bring it in the house. We brought it in the house, hooked it up and everything. We was like, ooh, nobody said nothing. And then probably about 2 weeks later or something, I spoke to my mom and she was like, hey, did you get the washer and dryer that I sent over there? And I was like, Mom, that was you? She was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's how I was, Sanjay. I was like, hurry up, bring it in. But, so she helped me with little stuff like that, and I think she didn't ask me no questions. She didn't ask me, do I have a washer and dryer hookup? She just bought a washer and dryer and was like, my baby is out there trying to make it, and this man got her, and he was taking advantage of me. I didn't know where he was sending me to wash clothes. It was in an area, it was in like Little Mexico. It wasn't in walking distance. I didn't know nothing about laundromats. Never grew up with a laundromat. We either had a washer dryer or we washed them in the tub and we hung them out on the line. That's what we did. When I first was young, we washed everything in the tub. We stumped on them like grapes. We stumped on our clothes. You know what I'm saying? And then we rinsed them out. And we just didn't stump on our clothes. We put whoever needed clothes for the next day in the tub, and we walked on the clothes with the soap in the tub, and we stumped on the clothes, and then we rinsed the clothes out. And then we rinsed the clothes out. We hung them up with the hanging pins in the backyard. That's what we did. And every night, so I had so many brothers that every night it was somebody's chore to stomp on the clothes and wash the clothes and hang them up. So we, our clothes probably looked at dingy, but they was clean, like I said. And then we ended up getting a wash machine and a dryer. And that was a game changer. Shoot. We thought we were rich. But anyway, like I said, I remember stumping on clothes at a young age, but I remember, you know, as mom got more money and we got a washer and dryer, finally we got a washer and dryer. I actually remember when we were on welfare, my mom was on welfare, and they would come to your house to see what you had in your house, as far as was there a man living there. So my stepfather would have to leave the house and hide, and we would have to take his clothes and stick them between the mattress of the bed. And then we had a color TV, and I remember the lady asking my mother, "How'd you get this color TV?" And my mother was like, a woman gave it to her. But we were the only ones in the block that had a color TV. And at first we only had black and white. I actually got the console TV, our TV, when we was a kid. I still have it, you guys. It is about 12 inches. It is as big as my little laptop. And everybody's like, man, that's worth some money. It's a console. Y'all know what a console is. It stands on 4 legs, right? But it's no bigger than a tablet. And it's a console TV. It was my grandmother's. My grandmother gave it to my mother, and my mother gave it to me, and I still have it. And I was having my garage sale, not this last year, not this year, but 2 years prior. And somebody was like, "Hey, I'll give you $100 for that TV." I said, "No, you won't." It was in my garage. I said, "No, you won't." I said, "The devil is a lie." Man, they don't even make these things like this. It ain't no bigger than like 12 inches. And it stands on its own legs. Yeah, it's a very small console TV. Anyway, yeah, it works and everything. I don't know. I haven't plugged it up or anything, but yeah. Sanjay says, I remember the washer that would ring your up in the roller if you didn't pay attention. I remember the little thing that you yeah, that person remembered. Yeah, they thought they had a dum. Anyway, you guys, I'm gonna get off of here. I just wanted to share that little bit with you about the young lady and what happened to her, and she's looking at life in prison. She says she sacrificed her kids and she want to know how to get out the situation. So I believe that they just looking at all the circumstances, we come to a conclusion or whatever. I think they're going to find her guilty on child abuse, but I don't think they're going to give her life in prison. No, they're not going to give her life in prison. First of all, you got things like she's got a mental situation. COVID happened. She did either she did or she knew that they were paying the rent. She provided food at some time. She had contact with the kids. And so those 5 things right there, she's not going to get life in prison. She's going to get time, but it won't be life. Anyway, you guys, that's it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on. Hopefully we can get back on the Naziah Harris case. If anything's happening on that, I will still share it with you guys and let you know. All right. Bye.